I didn't sleep that night. I kept hearing that soft knock, kept seeing that pale face at the window, and kept remembering the way she avoided the porch light, as if brightness hurt her. By morning, I had convinced myself it was nothing more than an exhausted traveler. Maybe someone who just needed water. Maybe someone who was lost. But deep inside, a cold feeling twisted in my stomach. The next day, around 10 a.m., I made myself a cup of coffee and looked out my kitchen window. The forest behind my backyard was unusually still. No woodpeckers, no squirrels, no rustling leaves. Just silence. It reminded me of the night Daniel died, when the world had felt too quiet, like nature itself was holding its breath. I shook the thought away and decided to clean the porch. When I bent down to pick up the doormat, something slid out from underneath it. A folded paper. My heart dropped. It was a note, written in small, shaky handwriting. "I'm sorry. I didn't know where else to go." No name, no explanation, just those 11 words that made my hands tremble. I looked toward the forest again. The silence somehow grew heavier. A visit from the sheriff. Around noon, Sheriff Miller stopped by. Not because of the woman, but to return my casserole dish. "Well now, Claire," he said with his usual gentle grin, "your peach cobbler nearly stopped my heart, in the best possible way." I smiled politely, but he immediately frowned when he saw my expression. "You all right? You look like you've seen a ghost." I hesitated. I didn't want to sound crazy, but the memory of that pale face, that whispering voice, that handwritten note, it all tightened my chest. So I told him everything, every detail. When I finished, his joking expression was gone. "Claire," he said slowly, "I wish you'd called me last night. I didn't think. I know. But things happen around these woods. Folks get lost. Folks hide. And sometimes," he paused, "sometimes desperate people do dangerous things." For a second, I wondered if he meant she was dangerous. But his eyes told a different story. He wasn't afraid for me. He was afraid for her. "Do you think she's in trouble?" I whispered. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Maybe. But the part you said, about how she didn't step into the light, that's strange." Strange. That was one word for it. Unnatural was another. "I'll send a deputy to check the woods," he said. "Just keep your doors locked, okay?" I nodded, though deep down I knew locked doors wouldn't keep out the kind of fear I felt. The second night, she returned. That night, I left the porch light off. Not because I wanted her to return, but because I needed answers. Around 11, the air became still again, the same dead quiet as the previous night. Then came the sound. Not a knock this time, but something else. A soft dragging noise, like footsteps shuffling through gravel, then stopping right at my door. My breath hitched. "Claire?" The same whisper, the same trembling voice. Except now, she knew my name. I froze. "How do you know me?" I called through the door. A long pause. Then, "Please, I need to come inside." Her voice cracked on the last word. I moved closer, but didn't open the door. "What happened to you?" I asked. Another pause. Then a soft, almost childlike sob. "I didn't mean to. I didn't mean for any of it to happen." For a moment, anger and fear mixed in my chest. "Tell me what happened," I demanded. But instead of answering, she suddenly sounded terrified. "Claire," she whispered urgently, "he's coming." Something slammed against my porch. A heavy thud. She gasped. Then, footsteps running. Fast, crashing through the woods. I whipped open the door. But she was gone. No silhouette, no shadow, no sign of her. Only the sound of branches snapping deep in the forest, as if someone, or something, was chasing her. The next morning. The newspaper. I barely slept. When morning came, I forced myself to go outside and found something lying near the porch steps. A ring. A small silver ring engraved with 2 letters. E-N. My hands shook. I'd seen that ring before, years ago, on the hand of a girl who used to live across the forest. A girl named Emma Nolan. A girl who had disappeared 6 years ago. Everyone believed she'd run away. But her mother had cried on my shoulder for months, insisting Emma would never leave without saying goodbye. And now, her ring was on my porch. Was the woman in the dark Emma? But Emma would be 23 by now. The face at my window. The voice. They didn't sound 23. They sounded older, tired, broken. I went inside, my heart hammering, and opened my old scrapbook of newspaper clippings. I found her photo, a bright, smiling teenage girl with freckles and big, hopeful eyes. Emma Nolan, age 17, missing. My throat closed up. The pale woman at my window had no freckles. Her eyes were sunken, her face was gaunt, hollow, changed. But the jawline, the shape of the eyebrows, the way she held her hands, it was her, had to be. My mind raced. Where had she been all this time? Why did she come to me? And most frightening, who was he, the person she said was coming? The sheriff's warning. I drove straight to the sheriff's office. When I showed him Emma's ring, his entire posture changed. Claire, where did you get this? I told him. Every detail. He scratched his beard, thinking, then opened a drawer and pulled out a stack of old case files. Emma's disappearance. Her boyfriend's name. The reports of someone seen following her weeks before she vanished. A man named Reed Carson. A man who moved away right after Emma disappeared. A man with a violent record. A man who was released from prison last month. Sheriff Miller looked at me and said the words that made my blood turn cold. Claire, if Emma's alive, she's running from him. I felt sick. She told me he's coming, I whispered. The sheriff stood abruptly. You're not staying alone tonight. But I refused. This started at my house, I said. I'm not running. He stared at me, then sighed deeply. At least promise you'll call me if she returns. I will. But I already knew the truth. She would return, not because she wanted help, but because she was terrified, and because she thought I was the only person who would listen. For the rest of that day, I couldn't sit still. Every window felt like an eye. Every sound felt like a warning. Even the air inside my house seemed thinner, harder to breathe. Around 6 p.m., I stood by my kitchen counter, clutching Emma's ring so tight it left a mark in my palm. Why me? Why my house? Why now, after 6 years? I kept replaying her words in my head. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean for any of it to happen. He's coming. Who was he? Where had she been? What had she done? The sun dipped behind the trees, and shadows spilled across my living room like cold water. And then, the house answered my thoughts with a sound I'd been dreading. 3 soft knocks. Not at the door. At the side window. I froze. The same window where she had first appeared. Slowly, I turned. She was there, her face half hidden behind the glass. Eyes wide, wild, begging. I opened the window before I could think. She stumbled inside, and this time, I saw her clearly. Her clothes were torn, muddy, ripped at the sleeves, her hair tangled, her feet bare and bleeding. But it was her face that shook me most. A bruise along the jaw, a cut on her cheek, and fear, a kind of fear that eats a person from the inside out. Emma, I whispered. She flinched at the name. Don't call me that, she said, voice trembling. I'm not her anymore. She sank to the floor, knees pulled to her chest, shivering, like someone freezing in summer heat. Tell me what happened, I said softly. All of it. Her eyes met mine, and the truth poured out. She didn't run away. She was taken. When I disappeared, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Everyone thought I ran away with Reed Carson, the boyfriend with a temper, the man the sheriff suspected, but could never prove anything against. I didn't leave with him, she said. He took me. My stomach twisted. She tucked her hair behind her ears, and I noticed something. A faint, healed indentation on her wrist. A shackle mark. For 6 years, she whispered. He kept me. I covered my mouth, trying not to gasp. We moved from place to place. Old cabins, basements, abandoned shacks. He said the world didn't deserve me, that only he knew who I was. Her voice cracked. I tried to escape 3 times. The last time, he broke my ribs. After that, I stopped trying. Tears streamed down her face, but she kept talking, as if afraid the words might die inside her if she stopped. 3 weeks ago, he went out for supplies. I ran. Finally ran, and I ran until I reached this forest. But why come to me? I asked. She swallowed hard. Because your house has a light. My eyebrows knitted. What do you mean? She squeezed her eyes shut. When I escaped, I wandered for 2 days. I slept under trees, hid when I heard footsteps. I thought I would die out there. And then one night, I saw your porch light. She looked up at me, and I remembered you. My breath hitched. You know me? She nodded. When I was little, you used to give me apple pie when Mom was working late. You told me the world was still good, even when it didn't feel like it. That stuck with me. So when I saw your light, I thought maybe. Her lips quivered. Maybe you'd be the one person who wouldn't close the door. My chest tightened painfully. I'm here, I whispered. I'm not closing anything. For the first time, her shoulders softened, only for a moment. Then her entire body tensed again. Claire, she whispered, eyes drifting toward the window. He's close, the man in the trees. The moment she said it, a sharp crack echoed from the forest. A branch, snapping under a heavy foot. Emma's hands flew to her mouth. No. He found me. I moved to the window. At first, I saw nothing. Just shadows, trees swaying slightly. The usual forest haze. Then, a silhouette. Tall, broad-shouldered, standing perfectly still between two trees. Watching the house, watching us. I felt the air leave my lungs. He didn't move. He didn't shout. He didn't approach. He just stood there, like a predator waiting for the right moment. "Emma," I whispered, "go into the back room. Lock the door." She shook violently. "He won't stop. He won't stop until—" "Go." She ran. I grabbed my phone and dialed the sheriff. "Miller speaking. He's here," I whispered. That was all I had to say. "I'm coming. Don't do anything. Stay inside." But when I looked back out the window, the man was gone. Just the forest, silent, dead still. A coldness spread across my skin. This wasn't over. The letter she carried. I found her sitting on the floor of the guest room, clutching something in both hands. A piece of paper. "I shouldn't show this," she whispered, "but I have no one else." She handed it to me. A letter, written in angry, jagged handwriting. It said, "If you run again, I'll make you watch what I do to the next person who tries to help you." My blood went cold. "Emma, when did he write this?" "2 days ago," she whispered, "before I escaped again. This time, she had run for good, and he knew she wouldn't stop. So he followed her, tracked her, because men like Reed don't lose the things they believe they own." The sheriff arrives. Sheriff Miller arrived 15 minutes later. But Emma hid the moment she heard his car. "Please," she begged, "don't make me talk to him. I can't." "It's okay," I said. "You don't have to." The sheriff searched the perimeter, the woods, the path leading down toward the river. Nothing, but his face told me everything. "He was here," he said quietly. "Footprints, fresh ones." Emma trembled so violently I thought she might shatter. "Sheriff," I said, "he's not going to stop." "No," he replied. "He's not." He turned to Emma. "You need protection. We can keep you safe." "We can." She shook her head fiercely. "You don't understand. He always finds me. Always." Her voice cracked like a breaking bone. The sheriff crouched to her eye level. "Not this time." But I saw doubt flicker in his eyes. Even he wasn't sure, the night before the truth. We decided Emma would stay the night. I set up a small bed in the guest room and sat with her until she fell asleep. Restless, shaking, whispering things she didn't mean to say aloud. "Don't open the door. Not the basement. Please." I didn't mean to scream. And one sentence that haunted me. He said I was the quiet kind of girl. The kind no one would come looking for. My heart broke. When she finally slept, I turned off the lamp. Just as I reached the doorway, she whispered in the dark. "Claire?" "Yes?" Her eyes were open, staring into nothing. "He's not just coming for me." My breath hitched. "What do you mean?" She swallowed shakily. "He's coming for both of us." The room felt colder suddenly, as if the night itself had pulled closer. And in that moment, I realized the truth. This wasn't just her story anymore. It was mine too. Because once darkness chooses a house, it doesn't leave without taking something. When I opened the door that evening, the wind hit me first. Cold, heavy, carrying a strange, damp smell, like wet earth freshly dug. It made my heart squeeze. Because that smell, it reminded me of graveyards. I tried to shake the feeling off, but uneasiness was already crawling up my neck. Lana was sitting in the living room, wrapped in the shawl I had given her, staring blankly at the wall. She looked pale, worse than before. Not sick, not tired, just fading. "Sweetheart," I said softly, walking to her. "Did you eat anything today?" She blinked slowly, as if waking from a trance. "Auntie, something is coming." My breath caught. "Something? What do you mean?" She held her hands up. They were trembling. All day, I felt someone standing behind me, just out of sight, waiting, calling me back. My heart hammered. Back? Back where? Before I could speak, she looked up at me and whispered, "Auntie, I don't think I ever escaped." My knees went weak. "What are you saying?" She swallowed hard. Her voice cracked. "When I ran from the clinic, when I ran from the people searching for me, I felt light, too light, like my feet never touched the ground. And, Auntie," she curled into herself, "I never remember opening the door to your house. But suddenly, I was inside. A chill ran through my entire body. I grabbed her shaking hands. You're alive. You're right here with me." She smiled sadly. "Auntie, sometimes the living don't realize they've crossed over." My throat burned. I refused to accept it. But something in her eyes, the hollow reflection, the way shadows didn't cling to her body the way they should, the silence that followed her everywhere, something wasn't right. I forced myself to be strong. "Lana, listen to me," I said, touching her cheek. "Souls don't get lost if someone is still holding on to them. If I won't let you go, you won't go anywhere." She leaned into my hand like a child desperate for warmth. Then, suddenly, knock, knock, knock. My stomach turned. It wasn't a normal knock. It was slow, heavy, like a fist made of stone. Lana froze. Her breathing stopped. "Auntie," she whispered. "It's here. No one is here." I tried to sound brave, but my voice cracked. The knock came again. Knock. Knock. And the third one, knock, shook the entire door. I forced my shaking legs toward the entrance. Lana grabbed my arm, terrified. "Auntie, please don't open it." My hand hovered over the handle. The air grew icy. The lights flickered. The house seemed to hold its breath. From behind the door, a low whisper seeped through the cracks. "She was never yours." I stumbled back. Lana's eyes filled with tears. "Auntie, let me face it. I have to." "No," I cried. "I won't let you go." She smiled gently. "Beautiful, heartbreaking. You gave me warmth when I had none, a home when I was lost, and a name when mine faded." Tears blurred my vision. She stood, walked to the door, and placed her palm against it. "Auntie, thank you." The door opened by itself. A violent gust of wind extinguished every light in the house. The dark beyond the doorway was not night, not shadow, something else, something deep. And then Lana stepped forward. The moment her foot crossed the threshold, her body shimmered like smoke caught in moonlight. "Auntie," her fading voice whispered, "I wasn't meant to stay. But the love you gave me, it will go with me." And she disappeared. Just like that. The door slammed shut. Silence. Only my heartbeat remained, and the echo of her final words. For a long time I stood there, unable to breathe, unable to move, unable to believe what I had just lost. Then I saw it. A small object, lying where she had stood. A bracelet. The one I had given her the day she came into my home. Still warm. I held it to my chest and sobbed. Because even though she was gone, a part of her had stayed. A reminder that sometimes, love is strong enough to cross the line between life and death.